Welcome to the 813 Discussion, a podcast committed to seeing the truth of God's Word in Philippians 4, 8 through 13 set people free to thrive. From the offices of Hope Learning Academy in Southern California, and broadcasting from an RV somewhere in Arizona, here's your hosts, Pastor Paul Krueger and Samantha Opp.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 813 discussion. Thank you for being here with us today. We're your hosts. I'm Samantha Opp, and this is Pastor Paul Krueger.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Oh my gosh,
Or
my
whatever.
screen is freezing so bad.
Well,
It's
maybe
fine.
I'll
I can
do
still
to
hear
you what
you.
you do to me, and I'll wait for you to be frozen in a funny pose or something, and I'll take a screenshot of that and share it with all of your friends.
And you can. It's fine. I don't care.
Not that I'm bitter or anything.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for being here, everybody. We're continuing today on our I guess it's a series, really.
It is a
turned
series,
into
yeah.
on
Yeah.
parenting. And last week we were talking about building a lasting relationship. And this
Mhm.
week, today we're going to be talking about navigating teen relationships,
This is a tough
which it's totally a tough one. I only have like personal experience on like how I was as a teenager, but you are the expert.
So do I.
Oh yeah, you were a teenager too. At one point in your life.
Dang. You're really firing the old shots at me. You're trying to freeze my face and calling me
Hey,
old. And I also
no.
have personal experience in your teenage relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not
Yeah.
bringing any of that up today, but it does add to the just the experience and the huge bucket of information and tools that we have from life experience. So that makes it
Mhm.
important. And we're recording this on December 21st.
Mhm.
And as we record our last episode, which Sam just mentioned was building a lasting relationship with your teen, just dropped. So that's available on
Mhm.
all of your podcasting platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever, iHeartRadio. They're all there.
Mhm.
And then we'll try to get this one to you as soon as possible. And this
Mhm.
episode is sponsored in part by Donut Star of Menifee. When you are in the Menifee area, if you want the best donut, they have a plaque and everything. Go to Donut Star, located on Newport Road in the Menifee Shopping Center with the Stater Brothers. Hope Learning Academy has been hooked up with a couple dozen donuts this morning because this is our last
Love
day
it.
before we take our break for Christmas. So
And I've never been there. The
I couldn't believe it.
20 years that I lived there.
Everybody except
Never been
Sam
there.
in this area knows about Donut Star.
Listen, when I was a kid, my parents didn't buy us donuts ever.
No. Yeah.
So how was I to know?
So deprived. And
I'm
then
a fun mom like that. I'll go get the donuts, but
there was
I'll have to
another
wait.
donut store in town that's actually was famous in Canyon Hills because Ariana Grande happened to be at a party in Canyon
she
Lake.
licked one.
She licked one of those donuts, and they're out of business.
Yeah, it was
They're gone.
Wolfie's, and honestly,
Yeah.
I had gone there before. Their donuts were garbage.
Donut Star kicks Wolfie's Donuts butt.
I'm gonna take your word for it, and
Okay,
I
well,
better
and
be
this
super
has
impressed.
nothing to do with navigating teen relationships. But I had an apple fritter a second ago, and so I guess it's what's on my brain.
Yeah, you can't stop
And
thinking about it.
And in my arteries, yeah. So anyways, navigating teen relationships is a tough one. I know the parent that triggered this series, I've gone ahead and investigated what's going on in their area, in their state. And what's hard is in the state of California, we actually have laws that make it easier for parents to intervene in unwanted teen relationships and runaway type situations and things like that. So in the state of California, where a lot of our listeners are also tuning in from, you've got the curfew law, which is pretty much statewide, 10 p.m. If a child under 18 is out and about, they can receive a ticket, they can be taken home. And so at the very least, a juvenile has the ability to start getting on law enforcement's radar, and parents sort of have that tool to use as a deterrent in their child's life. And then
Mhm.
also the age of consent in the state of California is 18 years old. So if your child is with somebody you don't want them to be with, you can actually it takes some doing to get people to prosecute it, but you can pursue charges. You can at the very least pursue a temporary restraining order, get that person um, removed from your child, what have you. But in the state where our listener is that we're actually doing this series for, in
Mhm.
her state, in her state has returned the jurisdiction for minors and curfew back to each individual city. So in her state, it's up to each individual city to either adopt a curfew rule or not. And so I was not able to find any information on her specific city. I did find some of the surrounding cities, and most of them have curfew laws for only 16 and under. And I believe her daughter is 16, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell I'm going to tell that parent, you need to find either walk into the police station or talk to somebody you know connected to your city's police department and ask them what recourse you have. You may have it may be a ticketable offense in your city or in your county. So you can check on that. As far as a runaway type situation in the state of California, if a child is out past 10, you can actually call the police and say, "Hey, I want to file a runaway report on my child." It's a one-page report. They put them in the system, and that gives police the opportunity that if they come in contact with your child, to bring them home. They have the right to immediately take them into custody and bring them home. So there's that. And please, if you do that, having served 20 years with a law enforcement agency nearby as a chaplain and dealing with tons of runaway reports, et cetera, involving juvies. Please, when they come home, make sure that you call and have them taken out of the system so that it doesn't get gummed up, because that's what makes a lot of law enforcement representatives or officers reticent to put your child in the system.
Mhm.
So she needs to research what is available to her in her local area. There's not a lot of information available online. That's how it works in California. Most states have something similar. If
Mhm.
you're listening from one of the other states in the country, um, but you need to research your direct area. Like I was researching one city that's it's well known in her state,
Mhm.
and it's just a little bit south of her. Starts with a B if
Mhm.
she's listening. Um, and it has a curfew ordinance for 16 and under, which wouldn't help her with her daughter, or for under 16, so her daughter wouldn't be violating
Oh,
curfew if she was out. So she needs to check for her city directly.
I just
um
think that that age is just so weird. It's like they're not legally an adult, but they
yeah.
can do whatever. Like,
Well,
no.
and especially in the state of California, okay, if my child is out, I'm legally liable for the damages they cause. So if they run their car into a car, they vandalize, they, you know, cause damage of some kind or harm to somebody else,
Mhm.
as their parent, as their guardian, I'm actually civilly liable for all those damages.
Mhm.
And yet the law seems to be removing my ability to then enforce having my child home if I'm still liable for those things. So again, it's just misguided reaction with our laws instead of really getting all the stakeholders in one room
Mhm.
and reasoning our ways to a common sense law that actually empowers parents to do their jobs, especially if we're going to hold
Mhm.
parents accountable to do their jobs,
Yeah.
and not. So we need to create laws and policies that help parents be good parents,
Mhm.
especially the good parents that are trying to be good parents. So
Mhm.
so that's my little tirade on that. Um, Before we dive into this, so teen relationships. I guess I'll preface it with all of the things that you're worried about teens doing when they're in a relationship are good concerns to have.
Mhm.
Um, Teen pregnancy is actually slowed down as a statistic, but
Mhm.
Sam can readily tell you that we've had children in this school in the first 2 years of their life. We've had babies making babies in our school. And,
Yeah.
all of our kids, like Sam, that were in the school at the time, got close to those babies and those kids.
Mhm.
But it's still babies raising babies. And, your child is setting themselves up for a whole lot of extra resistance towards thriving. And that doesn't mean their lives are over, or anything like that. We actually assist parents and we assist the kid in gathering all the resources around to make sure that that baby is not suffering for anything.
Mhm.
And that we help those kids that are raising kids grow up enough to be responsible, thriving adult parents. And we've had a lot of success with that. We've had some not so successful, but we've had a lot of success with that as well.
Mhm.
So the first thing I think that is important to share with parents, some sort of a nugget that you can tuck away and use as a training tool for your kids in that magical moment where you're able to speak into their lives, is what we call the stairway of intimacy. Do you remember
Mhm.
that, Sam? Stairway of intimacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we teach it a lot in 4-8, and the idea is,
We have
pictures.
podcast episodes about it as
We
well.
do. We do. If you want
Yeah.
to go back, I don't know which one. I mean, good luck, because I
Okay,
mentioned
maybe
things
I could
all over the
find it
place.
and then we could link it. I'll
Maybe you
find
could
it.
find it, maybe you could link it. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, in the show notes, we could put the link
Yeah, I'm just
with
messing with
it.
you.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
messing with you.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Okay. So, but I'll address it, real briefly here again.
Okay.
So basically the idea is if you have a stairway and the bottom represents, acquaintances, or at the bottom of the stairs, people you just come in contact with here and there. Um, and then at the very top of the stairway is your most intimate relationships. And of course, in the economic that we teach, which is the biblical economic,
Mm-hmm.
only marriage goes at the very top of that stairway. So each stairway has an appropriate level of physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, and there's only two currencies that allow us to move from stair to stair, and those are trust and time. And so what you find is that relationships suffer when we go up the stairs too quickly. So if our physical intimacy is out of line with the amount of trust and time that places us on a different stairway, we fall down the stairs. And
Mm-hmm.
that hurts us. Falling downstairs does not feel good. And so
Mm-hmm.
the idea there that we try to instill in the kids that are in our school, is basically the idea that you need to build enough trust and time into a relationship to move up those stairs. And we set good boundaries based on where we are. If you're in a friendship and it becomes a close friendship, and that person breaks your trust, then they have good boundaries will take them farther down the stairs. You will place them at a lower stair, and you will either you forgive, that's forgiveness, and
Mm-hmm.
you will either let them reconcile their way back up your stairs with enough time of rebuilding that trust, or you're going to keep them with boundaries at that stair. Turn off the escalator button, press stop, whatever it is. There should not be an escalator, anyways. There should be no
Yeah.
automatic going up the stairs.
No.
And so even marriages, a lot of people that, you'll see marriages destroyed on the basis of trust being destroyed. And that's hard because you're at the top of the stairs and trust has been destroyed, but it's important. Lundy's hair is everywhere. Oh my gosh. My dog sheds. Um, but it's important that we take a lot of care in rebuilding that trust. So
Mhm.
now applying that to your teenager's life, we know that teenagers tend to be hormonal, impulsive, short-term thinking, emotional beings. And as a result, you cannot trust them to have enough life experience to make wise choices on the spectrum of that stairway. We
Mhm.
also know, just borrowing from anatomy, physiology, from development, that there's two hormone baths that a child takes. One is in the womb when their gender and sex, sorry, I will try not to get political, are being determined. Um, And then the other time is during puberty when that hormone release again is triggering the body to become mature and to go from childhood body to adult reproductive body. And then we also know, especially concerning the brain, that the female brain doesn't stop developing until the early 20s, early to mid 20s, and the male brain just a little bit later into the mid 20s. As far as maturity goes, just blanket statistic, men tend to be about 2 years behind their female counterparts, age and maturity wise. And you can see that. How many relationships do you know where the guy is 2 years older than the female? That's very common. 18 months is actually the statistic, the most common. And it may be because this is a correlation I'm making. It may be because the maturities are more equal. And it may not be. It may just be something else. But because I haven't spent enough time studying that.
When I remember when I was a teenager, like 15, 16, 17, and these 22, 23, 24-year-old guys are hanging out with us. And like that was like fine and normal. But I think back and I'm like, there was definitely something going on up there in their brains. Like they definitely, probably from smoking weed and stuff, their brain was stunted.
Yeah,
they
socially
probably
retards.
mentally are like 18 years old, and that's why they think it's fine to be hanging out with us right now.
Well, yeah, and I'm not using the word retarded as a derogatory term, but when you smoke pot during adolescence, it does socially retard the the development of the brain. And so, THC is a central nervous system depressant. And if you're putting a central nervous system depressant in your body during a time when your brain is developing, I mean, it's just, to me, common sense that there's going to be issues. And I have seen kids, and I know you know people too, that, they go all through adolescence smoking pot, and they're 19 or so, and they decide, you know what, I got to stop this, and they stop smoking pot, and they are in terms of social development, they are behind their peers that did not smoke pot.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's
I
true
have
too.
personal experience with that as well, like dealing with horrible, social anxiety and stuff over things that probably should have grown out of by that
because
time
you
in my
weren't
life.
building those capacities to cope with that. Slowly you were numbing yourself away from those capacities. And again, this podcast is not about teen substance abuse, but it does go hand in hand with this, because all of these things work together to serve making teenage relationships dangerous in some ways, because you've got children interacting with children, making adult decisions with adult-ish bodies that can alter the rest of their lives. And so I know I've just spoken to a lot of parents' fear out there. Parents fear those life-altering changes that can happen. So number one, you cannot fully prevent, 100% prevent teen pregnancy. You can only influence. You cannot control your child. It's been tried. You've heard of chastity belts. They used to be real. They used to practice bundling back in the Revolutionary War time, when a male had to stay overnight and he was courting the young lady in the house. They would actually sew her into a sack of material.
Oh my gosh.
And they actually portray that in the movie Patriot. If you want to see it, it's sort of funny.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And so, parents have been trying for eons to control their kids out of this. Being influential instead means that you're doing all the things as a parent that you can do, controlling the controllables, to influence your child's good decisions with their relationships, enforcing the boundaries that are wise that need to be in place to protect your child, but also knowing that you cannot control your child, so you can't prevent everything. And parents have a tendency to feel defeated and feel like they're miserable failures because their kids still find a way to sneak out or do this or do that. Man, kids are sophisticated. And, it's sort of like terrorism. Yes, I am comparing raising teenagers to terrorism right now. A terrorist to be successful has to be right once. Whereas the government that's protecting their people from the terrorists has to be right all the time. And it's sort of the same way, you cannot cover all the bases. We are all human beings. You are not going to be able to account for your child every moment of every day. If your child is determined to go have sex, they're going to have sex. If your child is determined to date a person you don't want them to date, they're going to find a way. And you can limit that as much as possible and be responsible, but understand that you can't control your child. So today we are talking about how to be influential, not how to control. We are also going to talk about how to enforce boundaries, but we're not going to talk about how to control, because controlling doesn't work anyways. In fact, I will tell you that when you try to control your child, more times than not, you push them towards the very behavior that you're trying to pull them from, because they're going to flip you off, whether for real or with their actions, and do it anyways. So your child's dating life. Let's talk about dating life first of all. With my kids, number one, I have a couple of standards that I've told them that I will always require if they want my permission to go on a date. One is the date has to be public.
Right.
Okay. They're going to date in public places. The date's going to have a beginning time and an ending time. And when it's over, it's over. Because that little window of time in the gray area of when it's not supposed to be over, that's when stuff happens.
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks. And then the other thing is it needs to be planned. Like, what's your plan? What are you going to do? And when it's over, it's over. And then the rule is I'll tell them, hey, if something's going to change, it's not an automatic yes. You have to call me. And I have to say yes.
Right.
I do not let my daughters do anything without telling me everything about it. I tell them it's an automatic no until I have all the details I want. And here's the details I'm going to want: who, what, where, why, how, all that. Who are you going to be with? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? That's a good question to ask your kids sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
What adult safety is there, or supervision, if that's applicable or applicable? Tomato, tomato. And what and if not, what's your safety plan? When my daughters are out, I get a text updating me with what they're doing. Oh, we just got here. We just got there. They're following the plan. And then if the plan changes, again, they have to have permission. And then the other thing is active supervision means I'm spot checking them. If my kid tells me they have a plan, I am going to spot check them. And I'm going to this is where parents, you can have fun, have a date.
Yeah.
With
what do you usually do?
Oh, have a date with your spouse and play private detective and see how much you can track them without them knowing it and all that kind of stuff, and never tell them about it. I followed my daughters through the Target here in Menifee for like 30 minutes, like a year ago, without them even knowing I was there. It was a lot of fun.
Did they ever find out? Did you ever tell them?
Told them. They probably wouldn't care. They don't do.
That's funny.
They're really good girls that way. But so, yeah, it's not an issue. Good morning, Charlize. Charlize just walked in. There's donuts right there. Donut Star in Menifee. Best donuts in Menifee. They have a plaque and everything. Shameless plug. So when you're going, so you can see this as something that you hate. You can see it as something that like occupies your life and it's devastating, or you can have some fun with it and go and spot check your child. If your child is not where they're supposed to be, don't confront them right there. Wait for them to come home. Maybe wait till the next day and be like, hey, how'd it go last night? Where were you? Oh, I was at such and such, just like I told you I'd be. That's funny. You weren't there, because I was. And then there should be an appropriate consequence, a T-spot. Short period of time, take everything away, and tell them, I'm sorry you're in that consequence, but you know the rule that if we set boundaries for where you're going to be, if there's a plan, you need to be there. And that is a safety issue. And I explain it to my kids as such. If you get into trouble of some kind, or if I have an emergency of some kind and need you on the non-selfish side, then I want to know how to get in contact. Well, you could call. No, I want to know where you are. If there's an emergency, and in this day and age, we have those.
Mm-hmm.
If I know my kids are at Target in the Han Shopping Center, and then I see or hear about police activity at Newport and Han, you better believe I'm on my way over there to make sure my daughters are safe.
Yeah.
But I've got to know where to go. And then the other
Right.
thing that I use is I use tools. I have Life 360 on my phone. It's free, parents. And there's a paid version. And you can set it up on their phones without, and then set the parents. If you're getting your kid a phone, get the phone, set all this stuff up on it, password protect it so it can't be removed, password protect the Apple Store or the Play Store so they can't remove apps without you doing it. And tell them a condition of having this phone is I can track it at any time. If you disable the trackers, you lose the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I use Life 360. We also use the Verizon Family Companion, which is a great tool. My daughters only have access to Facebook and to Instagram, and we didn't allow them to have that social media content until they were 16 years old, and we felt they were mature enough. Those were my wife and my two things that were important to us. And on the Family Companion app, I'm able to go through. There's literally check boxes. Which social media apps are they allowed to be on? Instead of having to have a list of the things they can't go to, I've only allowed Instagram and Facebook. And so those are the only ones that they can be on. And then my daughters also knew to protect relationships and things like that, I had to have access, that I had to be able to see them on there, that we had to be friends. Now, parents, your kids are going to create fake accounts elsewhere. There are tools they can use like WhatsApp and other things to call their friends and to get around some of those things, but not with the Verizon Family app, because you can turn all that off. So
what a great commercial for them.
Yes. Is it? Well, AT&T also has it. T-Mobile has it. All of the major cell phone carriers have this tool or a tool like it. So I happen to use Verizon. If you think you just got a free commercial, you're overpriced. So there's the flip side of that commercial. I wish you'd lower your prices. I've been a loyal customer for a long time. Give me a fat discount, please. So there are great tools like that. And you have to spot tech. Did you just yawn? Those
I
of you
did.
that are
Sorry.
watching, she's a single mom. You're not a single mom. You're a single mom right now. Trevor's at work. I apologize. Right?
Yeah, but also I'm the default.
I just
parent,
lost your audio.
So
then you were back.
Hello? Can you hear me?
No, she's making faces. I'll keep going while she figures it out.
Can you hear me?
So all of these tools are available to all of you guys, and you should utilize them. You're coming in and out. You were in for a second. There you are. You're there.
Okay. Yeah.
Now it's out. It's like scratchy. It's coming in and out. I'm just going to keep going.
Okay.
Up, you're back. There you are.
Okay.
Sweet. She's back.
Okay. Something's wrong with something.
Something's wrong with something, but something's not wrong with something anymore.
Yeah.
So I know I've been all over the place, revisiting this whole thing, understanding how we teach our kids about intimacy, understanding that what the local ordinances are and things that you can do to both track them and to hold them accountable if they're out. If my child is out past 10 and I don't know where they are, I'm going to call the police every time. Okay. I mean, my kids are compliant, so there's probably a good reason, but I'm saying if my kid's out defiantly past 10, if they're purposefully, I know they're breaking my curfew on purpose, 10:30 is rolling around or so. And people that live in California, the deputy's or the officer's going to try to not do the runaway report. And be like, oh, they'll probably come home, blah, blah, blah. And you remind them to say, I know that's true, officer, but I'm also liable for all of their actions right now. And I also know from professionals in this area that teach parenting and that are also have been in law enforcement, that I can be held accountable and held liable for any damages they do here. So I know that if I put a runaway report in and they do something stupid, that the judge is less likely to impose those penalties on me because I put a runaway report in and I was being responsible. Officer, are you asking me not to be responsible like that? Okay, it's a 1-page report. Promise them you'll take them back out of the system when and if they return home. And then parents, if your child is running away, always assume it's the real thing. For most of the time it's them couch hopping, trying to be defiant, power play, what have you. But man, treat it like it's real. Just a small plug for human trafficking issues. Sometimes it's real, and that intervention needs to be quick, and it needs to be it just needs to be quick. It needs to be timely. So don't take any chances.
Right.
There's temporary restraining orders if an adult is trying to date your child, or if an adult, and this again, state of California, if an adult has your child with them and you have not given permission for your child to be with that person, you can demand that person not have your child. And if they refuse and they're withholding your child from you, they can get in big trouble in the state of California. Again, you have to research your own state. But that can become a temporary restraining order, a protective order. I know I helped with a human trafficking issue with kidnapping case in Oregon very recently. And in Oregon, if you get a restraining order against a protective order against somebody granted by a court, it's lifetime. So there are things in each state that people can do to limit other people's access to their child. And you just have to educate yourself and be ready to implement those things. Rolling it back towards the realm of the teens that aren't necessarily defiant, you don't necessarily like who they're with, you're trying to be influential, all of those things. Man, wrap that kid. In the case of the person that triggered all these podcasts from us, the boyfriend, man, invite him over to your house. If your daughter won't, you invite him yourself. Invite him on family stuff. Wrap him into your family. Get to know him. You may have already done this. Get to know him. Bring him over for dinner. Build rapport with him. Grow your influence into his life. If he refuses to engage with your family appropriately and respectfully, then you do need to start just making it harder and harder for them to be together. And don't stop trying to engage him in your family. Your daughter, whether she won't give you the satisfaction of this ever, but what you'll notice is that she will get less and less okay with it if she knows you're trying to be reasonable and involve him in things, and he's being resistant towards you. That actually can cause her to lose interest in him, even though she'll never admit to that to you or give you the satisfaction of that. So you just keep up that pressure, that influence, and keep growing influence into his life. Sometimes the kids that our kids find to date are really good at heart, but they haven't grown up with the tools that your child has. And so bringing them into your life, you can be influential, and you can start bringing those tools. And you might actually see a big change in your daughter and the dude if you start being influential in his life. I've had ex-boyfriend now of my daughter. She was complaining to him about one of my rules, and he looked at her and goes, "It's not really an unreasonable rule. Your dad's actually being pretty cool. Maybe you should just do it." So you never know what kind of influence you're building into your child's life by just wrapping that person into your life.
Yeah.
Build that rapport so that if you have to engage with your teen's partner, you can. I know a bunch of parents just cringed when I said your teen's partner.
But it's true.
And it's going to be uncomfortable sometimes. And there's a ton. I know we're already at 33 minutes of recording here, but there's a ton of information that goes with this. There's questions like, should I put my child on birth control? Isn't the timeless question of, isn't that giving them permission? Isn't that sort of saying, yes, you can? I'm not going to address that here. I guess I'll tease that for another podcast. I will say my daughters are not on birth control, and they haven't needed to be. And that comes by influence and things like that. But if you have a child that is sexually active, then should you? Is that you waving a white flag? Those are all hard things that we deal with as parents, and that people really don't talk about. If what happens when your child's partner, for lack of a better term, is dangerous, like truly dangerous. If you're in that
I've had a few of
situation,
those.
you have. So if you're in that situation, you should probably contact us off the air, and I need to give you very specific advice for your very specific situation. But there is
Right.
a time when whether your child's going to hate you for it or not, you have to intervene, because you might be saving their life, or you might be saving them from some life-altering choice, or God forbid, you might save them from being connected to a dangerous individual for the rest of their life because they have a child with that person. Because remember, kids do things with the attitude of it won't happen to me
Yeah.
until it does. Until it does. So I will say, the only thing I'm going to speak into your personal situation, Sam, without dropping any names or anything like that, is I do remember when you were in a relationship with somebody that was not good for you and was not a healthy individual lifestyle wise. Your dad actually did a good job of building rapport with that person.
Which one?
The one that was also in my school.
Can you say like a first letter of a name? The first
C.
name? Oh yeah. Okay. Okay.
So your dad at least had a respectful ability to have a respectful dialogue with that person, would invite them over, things like that. Okay. Your
Right.
dad did not
Okay.
like that person. Your dad did not approve of that person for your life. Your dad was probably thrilled when you and that person were no longer together.
Yeah.
But your dad still did, because I was in contact with him the whole time. He brought that concern to me, and he did work on reaching out to that person, to at least be influential.
Maybe it happened more times than I am aware of.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
And the only reason I can speak to that is because I was directly aware of it. And so things like that are really important.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes parents, we have to hold our nose while we're trying to get to know somebody. I will tell you a funny story involving my son. My daughter was going to a dance with somebody that my son knew of his reputation and did not like him. And I knew of the
Okay.
reputation. And so I'm trying to be exactly what I'm teaching parents to be right now. He meets me at a football game. He's Mr. Krueger. You know, I'm shaking my hand, doing that whole thing, trying to look me in the eye. And I'm looking back into his eyes, and I'm trying to make my eyeballs communicate to him that if you know, do anything to my daughter, I will kill you. I will make you wish you were dead. You know, even I'm trying to be influential. I'm trying to be friendly. His parents are standing there. He goes to shake my son's hand. My son goes, nope, and just looks at him. I was so proud of my son in that moment. My son did everything I wanted to do in that moment, but couldn't, because I was trying to be influential and loving about it and trust that my daughter would make a good decision in the long run, which she made an awesome decision in the long run.
I love it.
I think a better decision would have been dropping him like a bad habit and making him go to the dance alone. But all that to say, remain influential. You cannot control your child. It's exhausting doing all the things that you can to intervene for them in a way that keeps them safe. Have a plan, have structure for how they go out and how they date, and the plan for that dating. And when they violate that, exhaustively hold the line there with your boundaries. Make sure they're reasonable. If you want to check any of that stuff with me, if you want with specific plans, if you want to troubleshoot a specific issue you're having, I promise you, we've seen it or something like it, and we can address it with you. I think, Sam, you can vouch for that too. Literally, the hundreds of kids that you know, that in fact you have a wealth of knowledge and life experience on how to help with some of these issues. Sam has an incredible ability to love people with empathy that are going through stuff like this. She understands what kids are feeling when they go through this. If Sam ever wanted to work with youth, like I work with, she'd be very, very good at it. You would.
Okay.
By the way, I'm an
Paul,
expert, Sam.
the way that you just happen to know about things that I think about sometimes is creepy to me.
Sorry for
because
that being creepy. It's just something I have. It helps me do what I
no,
do,
I
actually.
no, it's not creepy. It's just like that was probably the wrong word. But I was literally, and I don't know why, I was just thinking about this the other day about if I should try to become what you are, a
Everybody pray for
professional
Trevor.
parent.
Trevor is saying, please send help because Sam has a new idea about what she wants to continue to do with her life with two little babies in her home.
I swear.
No, I'm being funny, but you do have a gift. You have empathy. And so moms out there, if you want to talk to another mom that hasn't been through the teenage side yet, but Sam has incredible insight into what a teenage girl is experiencing and thinking and feeling at this moment when she's being defiant towards you. And that is extremely helpful because it can help you strategize how to influence your child. It can help you
Mm-hmm.
strategize how to speak with them, how to talk to them. Understand that all the things that you expect to get from your child that are negative when you try to talk to them, they're expecting from you too. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can try to say, well, they have to listen to me, or you can find a way to build a bridge instead of a wall with your child. Build
Mm-hmm.
bridges, not walls. By the way, that's the title of a
Something,
book that people should read on interpersonal communication.
okay, something
Shameless
that I
plug.
really want to like say to parents, like coming from like my teenager self perspective, is be careful and like, or be mindful, I guess, of your reaction to things. Because for me personally, as a teenager, the way that my mom would react to things really made, or well, it like a make or break situation with our relationship. Don't be that person or that parent that's like, just tell me the truth. You won't be in trouble if you tell me the truth. And then they tell you the truth, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. Because that has happened to me many times. And I remember thinking in my head when one time this happened, I remember thinking, I'm never going to tell you the truth again. And I didn't. So just be mindful of your reaction to things that
Well,
they
and
do.
and you don't want to cater to your child either, but
No.
you do want to remain influential. And Sam raises a great point that one of the things that you can do to limit the possibility of what Sam just said happening is make sure you're ready to talk to your kid. Make sure that you are actually ready to engage in that conversation with them. Because if you're not, you're likely to have an emotional response that'll make them not want to have that conversation with you then or ever again. And so it's
Right.
really important that when we're discussing these really important subjects with our child and remaining or trying to be influential, that we pick our time as much for us to be ready to reason our way and to have a conversation about it, and not react our way and have an
Mm-hmm.
explosion about it. It's really important that we're ready for those things too. And don't be afraid unless something's life threatening or imminent. Don't be afraid to take some time to gather yourself. There's no rush. Don't
Yeah.
rush it unless again, if something's imminent, dangerous, or any of those things, um, just make sure that you're ready. Make sure that you are prepared. And don't do it until then. So
Yeah.
that's great advice, Sam. So we're
Thank
at
you.
43 minutes. So I think that
Okay.
we call it a day.
Yeah.
Our next podcast is going to be on building respect and trust. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, parents, this is something we have to build too. The mindset of my kid better respect me. Well, you better be respectable.
Yeah.
Ouch. My kid, does
Yeah.
your kid trust
Actually.
you? Yeah, you need to trust your kid. They need to maintain trust with you, but are you trustworthy?
Yeah. Actually.
So there's a big thing on us as parents. And then the segment after that is going to be communication challenges. This is near and dear to my heart. Um, my bachelor's degree is in communication, and I'm passionate about communication. Getting a degree in interpersonal communication was one of the most amazing things I could have done to aid what I do for life. The ability to read people, to communicate with them, to connect with them when they're not easy to connect with, reading nonverbal feedback, small group dynamics, all of those things. There's a wealth of information that can help you with your child. And then we'll probably spend a podcast recapping the key points we've been discussing in each episode. Some encouragement for you as parents to just remain persistent and loving. Building that foundation of love and lasting relationship with your teen, regardless of how bad it gets. And we'll have some closing elements to this parenting series before we launch into some other topic. If you're one of our listeners who has a topic that you want us to discuss, please let us know. Our emails are in the show notes. Make sure you press that subscribe and that like button, and share this with your friends. We especially would love this to be shared into any of the Christian groups you might be a part of. Spread the word. This podcast is, we love it when people that aren't believers are listening to it and gathering truth from it. But it is a podcast that's being developed for Christian living and to address things that Christians deal with, believers deal with. So spread it around, share it with your friends. We'd love that. And any closing remarks, Sam?
No, just that I hope that everybody has a great Christmas. And thanks
Christmas.
for listening.
Yep. And Happy New Year. I think we're going to drop this probably next week? In between Christmas and New Year.
Yep, because we have been on it the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
We filmed 2 this week.
We did. 3 days apart, or a day in between. In 3 days, 2 podcasts.
And everybody will be excited
High five,
to
Sam.
know. High five.
Yeah.
Everybody will be excited to know that I have figured out a new way to upload that is going way better, way quicker, and
shameless plug for Dropbox.com.
Yeah, I'm using Dropbox now instead of Google Drive. So I'm not sure what this means yet for uploading onto YouTube, because YouTube loves Google Drive, but Google Drive doesn't love me.
It won't be a problem.
Okay.
I've done it directly from Dropbox. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay, great. I'll just have to put it on Trevor's computer. But
okay, well, until next time, let me pray for everybody.
Okay, go.
Lord God, I thank you that you came. I thank you that you the word became flesh and dwelt among us, John 1:14. I thank you that you then lived a life like we did, that you faced all the struggles that we faced, the anxieties, that you were tempted, that you experienced loss of your friends and family. You lost your father at a young age, your earthly father, your stepdad. You were tortured, you were beaten, you were killed with my sins on your shoulder. You rose from the dead, and 3 days later. And Lord God, we look forward to your return. As I shared in the prayer this morning, Lord, with the 813 discussion, I pray that we would take the dash seriously, Lord, that you've ordained the beginning year and the ending year of our lives when we graduate into your eternity. Help us take the dash in between very seriously and live it for you. You are our God, we are your servants. And we just commit this podcast to you and our lives to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, we'll talk to everybody next time.
Thank you for joining us today. Please make sure to press the like button and subscribe to the 813 discussion on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to share us with your friends as well. If you are interested in supporting the production of the podcast, email Pastor Paul or Sam by checking the show notes. Until next time, be blessed and go thrive.